Hello, good evening, everyone. Let us start with our unknown class. We have been discussing about the vital force, and we have completed aphorism 9, that is the concept of health pertaining to vital force. We did aphorism 10, telling that if no vital force means it's a dead body. And we were discussing about the aphorism 11, that is in respect of the disease as per the vital force or the dynamic concept of the disease, illness. And in this, especially in the sixth edition, quite a long footnote is given. And this footnote is mainly talking about the dynamic influence, the dynamic concept. Almost half of the footnote was discussed, but then some of the few questions were raised in respect of it, especially how to say that any infectious disease, say measles or smallpox or COVID-19, whatever we call, how this infection can be termed as dynamic. Yesterday's class, we talked about the very much understanding of occurrence of any infectious disease, how it can be called as dynamic. We discussed in the yesterday class. Now, I believe in the last couple of classes, all the discussions regarding the vital force, I'm sure that those who are listening me, their orientation is back in respect of the dynamicity, in respect of non-materialistic aspect of the life, non-materialistic aspect of the universe, and we must be able to shed off our erroneous, false thought regarding the materialism. Why I'm saying so? Because even in the science, that too modern physics and all such subjects, all these subjects are also now almost shedding away their materialistic concept regarding the universe. Now every such science is now progressing towards the understanding of the universe. Now the new understanding of the universe is that it is nothing but energy. Any matter, any materialistic substance is nothing but the collection of the energy. So the most important point is that if we really study the turning point and many other publications, many other books of the same author, French of Capra, he is going to make us aware how the modern time of science, how this era, how today's era is now under the complete understanding of the concept of energy. And they are now in consonance of the understanding of the concept of energy. The same Henman talked all this, what we are trying to study, in the early 19th century. Those days, Hahnemann was quite ahead of his time. And those days, none of the scientific person could really understand what is he talking. And especially in respect of the medical art, it was nothing but a crazy idea. But that era and the aura of that era was altogether different. But now the aura has completely transformed. Hence, the era is also completely transformed. If we compare the time of Hahnemann and the time of ours, it's completely a paradigm shift. When I say paradigm shift, I mean that complete ideology has gone away and a new ideology has taken a place. What is this new ideology? The new ideology is regarding understanding the whole universe as nothing but energy. Now, when you see a piece of alpin, this piece of alpin, yes, it is made up of iron. Then what is this iron? Iron is a bundle of energy, nothing else. Even chemistry has gone into that understanding, and they know how a substance is nothing but the combination of this electron and all those things. Those very important basic sciences, they have arrived at the concept of energy. And the medical art, in the medical art, Hahnemann has much before this other basic sciences could reach to the concept of energy, Hahnemann reached much before, for which he was ridiculed. People laughed at him, made a mockery of him, and declared him almost like a crazy man. But then, really, he was not. The most wiser man, the most wiser doctor, the most appropriate and the apt way of treatment he discovered, and that discovery made the life of so many of the sufferers from the curse to the boon. So, this art given by Master Hahnemann is a boon to the suffering humanity. We, as the custodian of Dr. Hahnemann's art of healing, we are to understand this footnote of aphorism 11 in the right spirit as been said by Hahnemann and has been experienced by Hahnemann. If suppose we are able to understand this footnote, there will be so many ease going to be to understand the very concept of uh, minimum dose in the home. It is going to make us understand regarding the potency, how that such a small dose, that means the minimized substance of the medicine, but highly evolved medicine, highly evolved in the respect of energy. When in a process of dynamization and we can say potentization, what is that process? It reduces the quantum of the substance of the medicine, but then it increases, it evolves the power of the medicine, that potency of the medicine. That is why we call the potency. Some of my other lecture I told the homeopathic medicines and the other school medicines. We both denote our medicines, name of the medicine, then thereafter a number is there. Our number is related to the potency, that how much evolved, how much energy medicine we are having. Pulsatilla 200 means that this medicine is evolved up to 200. That is why it is the potency. But the other school, when they talk something XYZ 200 mg, they mean the quantity of the substance. So we mention, we believe, we trust, we are having a concept of, an understanding of the power of the medicine, which by a process of potentization is liberated from the crude substance of the medicine. So, in the whole aphorism, let me just start the whole footnote of this aphorism as a fresh, as a new. So, what is this footnote? I just give you one nutshell idea. Thereafter, we can read it. The whole nutshell idea is that this footnote is going to explain us about the dynamic power, or you can say the dynamic influence. Dynamic means something which is active, constantly moving in a flux. Something active, flowing, and why it is power? Power means that which is capable to do something. So it is nothing but then a constant flowing energy capable of doing something. Or we can say, in other words, an active flow of energy, an active flow of energy able to do something. So this is an active flow of energy which is capable of doing something. Each of our medicine, when we say 230, 1M, whatever, all these medicines are nothing but the bundles of the energy which is able to definitely do something. But then there are certain principles about it. What is going to do, what it is not going to do. It's quite specific. So to make this point understand, Hahnemann started with the understanding in the universe, in the planet, that how in the universe the relationship between the moon and the oceans on the earth, how this relationship is established, that in a particular day, in a particular hour, for the particular hours, means when the full moon comes, how that attraction of that full moon power, it is able to really give the tide to the northern oceans of the planet, of the earth planet. We do not find any kind of mechanical relation. It is nothing but then connected with some energy. Now, if we go into too much of astronomy, astronomy is entirely scientific subject, has got not much relation with astrology. Astrology is still considered as an empirical subject, which is not really so much supported with the scientificity. So I am talking astronomy. If we go into the subject of astronomy, we will be able to understand better that how the moon is having that kind of power which is constantly flowing, and but then a particular time only it causes tide in the ocean. With this example, he made us to understand that what is dynamic power. And you see, it is a constant activity. Every month, this activity is going on. Every month, this activity is going on. For going into too much of details, we can go into the subject of astronomy and know the details of it. But grossly, we know this. So, how it is connected? We all are very sure there is no such mechanical ropes or any kind of pulleys or any kind of uh, lever employed. It's not required. At least humans will not do it. There is nothing, no point doing it. It is quite naturally established like this. So here we can see that how things cannot be materialistic, how things can be in this way, just purely depending on energy, how energy can do something. That's a different matter that now in the astronomy they have understood all these phenomena to their best extent, and now they are able to uh, measure that energy of the moon and the effect of that measured energy of the moon on the sea, on the oceans. Similarly, Hanmin is trying to make us understand that how the same phenomena of dynamicity occurs in the having of infections, in the having of infectious diseases. I explained to you yesterday very well that how this is a dynamic, constantly flowing relationship between the three components, that is host, agent, environment. And in this three, it is constantly uh, going into the influencing each other in such a way that how one particular person gets infected and one particular person sometime do not get infected. Hahnemann gave here in this footnote the example of smallpox and the measles, how one child in one room, this infection travels going to the next road, door is open or not, air is flowing, and that infection reaches. So maybe that the time of Hahnemann, these phenomena were lesser known. Now these phenomena may be better known, but then still the understanding of dynamicity still prevails. Now it is better known just by saying that one virus entered. But as I explained yesterday, that virus just cannot get the opening and the entry without your invitation. So this is the whole thing which we discussed yesterday. But then this is what he tried to explain here regarding the concept of infectious diseases, that it is also a dynamic way of influencing the sick person to the other person still not sick. Hence, infections are dynamic. We need to learn this. An infection does not only mean that some virus entered. Even somebody seeing the other person in lot of anger can influence the person. That is also a infection. So we have to understand the concept of infection in a wider sense. Then nowadays in the microbiology, it has been given a very narrow sense. It should not be that narrow sense. We should not go into a very narrow sense of understanding of infection. Hahnemann explained here in this footnote the concept of infection quite wider, quite broad. In that, all those so-called virus bacteria comes in, and then thereafter whatever remains which can influence us any part, which is the main concept in this aphorism footnote given by Master Hahnemann. Then next point he explains in this regarding the similar way of understanding the work of the homeopathy. It is going way beyond, way above, way quite away from the understanding of Avogadro number. When I say Avogadro number, it means that if you dilute some substance at one particular time, when it is showing at least one atom in the particular solvent of the substance, till then okay, it is X material is there. But once if you are not really able to locate even simple one atom, then this substance is not that what you're talking. Means in pulsatilla, if that dilution has gone to the level of on 10 to the power minus 23, it is not really a pulsatilla, it is a placebo. This is what is the most important controversy regarding the homeopathic medicines. That means that so far no such gadgets or the laboratory instruments were made which can really tell that these highly dynamized substances are containing nothing but then energy. They are the specific energy packets, and when they come in touch with the human beings sensory nerves or organism sensory nerves, it shows the effects. So we need to have an instrument which can really sense these energies. Some progress has been made in this regard. Something is known. Some scientists are able to tell that it contains some nanoparticle. They call it as that the physiochemical basis of the homeopathic medicines are proved, but still there are so much of other kind of questions and controversies about it. Like for example, when they agreed, yes, you have some physiochemical basis, but then what do you mean by 30? The only difficulty is that when we write something as 30 or 200, we are not following the international units of the measurement in respect of energy. So now, at the level of scientific community and at the level of laboratory regarding the homeopathic medicines, the work is going on in relation to exactly understand and what is to be the right measurement. If it is a 30 or if it is a 200 or if it is 1 m, then what exactly the measurement? This is to be written exactly, it is as per the international units of energy, or you can say the materialistic substance. All such things are going on. My point is, the one controversy prevails. What is this highly dynamized medicine? In this aphorisms footnote, Hahnemann tried to make us understand that you can only understand this highly dynamized medicine when you apply to the healthy human being, it will produce certain symptoms. And that set of symptoms, if somebody is having naturally, say, disease, natural disease, if you apply the same dynamized medicine to that sick person, It is going to remove that sickness from that person. That is only we could understand the effects. When we say dynamized thing means dynamic thing means that we cannot see the power by the senses, but definitely the effects can be understood by the senses. Going back to the first example, that is regarding the uh, moon power causing those tides in the sea, we are unable to see with our senses what is that energy flowing from the moon touching the ocean. But definitely, we were able to make out that effect with our eyes seeing those long tides. The same way, when the dynamized medicine, Pulsatilla 200, given to a healthy person, he showed the altered state of health, alteration in the sensations and the functions that we do in the homeopathic provings. And when that set of symptoms given, if seen in the one patient and given to that person, that dynamized pulsatilla, it alleviates, it removes the whole suffering. All the three processes, I discussed 3 points: the dynamicity, the dynamic action of the power of the moon on the ocean, the dynamic power of the pulsatilla 200 on a healthy human being, and the dynamic power of pulsatilla in a sick human being having the symptoms, that specific symptoms produced by pulsatilla 200 in a healthy. All the three examples, what we are able to see, we are able to perceive with our senses only the effects. But how this is happening, we know quite a little about it. So the way we were knowing very less earlier in the time of Hahnemann regarding this relationship of the moon power and the ocean tide. But now we know much better, much maybe not whole, but then much better than the time of Hahnemann. But the difficulty is the regarding the homeopathic medicines. We haven't made any that big progress as that progress is being done in respect of understanding the effect of the moon power on the ocean. But then does not mean that you agree to the moon power and you disagree with the dynamized medicine of the homeopathy. No, because all these examples, all the three examples are showing its phenomena consistently. Whenever there is a phenomena, there is a science behind. If the scientist not able to explain the science of the phenomena, does not mean that you deny the phenomena. You cannot deny the phenomena. Phenomena is there. So let the scientists do their job, and we as a clinician do our job to continue with this understanding and do our clinical job, do our work at the bedside. Scientists will continue. They made some of the progress, and in the time to come, much more progress will be seen. Does not mean that thereafter we will start learning homeopathy. No need. Simply accept that phenomena is a truth which cannot be denied, and no science says that if not explained, deny the phenomena. This is not science. Science never says so. So this is the whole basic understanding of this footnote. And we can just have a little more understanding of the whole footnote if we read it. So almost the half of the footnote we completed. We completed the footnote. Uh, how many paragraphs? One. We completed definitely the two paragraphs. We go with the third paragraph of this footnote in a similar way. We tried to do some of this portion, but then we do this third paragraph of the footnote in a similar way. In this, Hanman has given one more example, that is regarding the magnet. In the magnet, he is telling that there is particular distance between the magnet and the metal. In that particular distance, when this metal comes near, particularly in the field of the magnet, it starts showing effects. So, if it has, this is a magnet, see, this is how it is showing its effect. Whenever the all pin, this iron pin, comes near to the magnet, it attracts. That means that for every energy there is certain range, that in within that range it works, and if it is beyond the range it does not work. Simply, the homeopathic medicines, when they get in touch with the sensory fibers, that is sensory nerves, it is able to exert certain effects. So keep that example of the moon and ocean in the mind, and the example of the magnet and the metal in the mind. These are the examples given by Hahnemann in his time, because he could really contain these two examples as best possible in his time to make us understand the concept of dynamicity. We, as a student, follower of Ognon, Hahnemann, homeopathy, we could really collect some more examples of the concept of dynamicity to add on here to make this footnote more enriched, so that we could have the better understanding. And very simply, you can just get these examples from your physics and chemistry books. So let us just first understand what Hahnemann has told to us. In a similar way, the effects of medicines upon living man is to be judged. Like, for example, the magnet and metal. Like, for example, the smallpox suffering child infecting the normal child. Like this, let us understand the effect of the homeopathic medicine. Similar way, substances which are used as medicines are medicines only in so far as they possess each its own specific energy to alter the well-being of man through dynamic conceptual influence by means of living sensory fiber upon the conceptual controlling principle of life. Conceptual controlling principle of life means the vital force, the vital principle. So he's just saying us the medicines are also in a similar way works, and when they similar way works means what is that? Every medicine has got a specific energy. If we talk in the terms of the physics, every medicine is an energy, and every energy has got a wavelength. Then every medicine has got a peculiar wavelength, peculiar lambda. How we know this? We know it clinically only when we prove it. We come to know there is a specific set of mental and physical combined symptoms of lycopodium, which are entirely different with the similar psychophysical symptoms of the pulsatilla. And another medicine, say cuprometallicum, has got entirely different psychophysical syndrome of the symptoms. All have entirely the different wavelength, different waves, different specific energy. They are quite different. That is why we say give single medicine at a time. So the most important point to understand is that they are the specific energies. That means the specific wavelength, the specific effects, they entirely differ from each other. They seem to be similar, but then it is entirely altogether different. And how do we know? We know because of their effects on the vital principle. Next, the medicinal property of those material substances which we call medicines proper relates only to their energy to call out alterations in the well-being of animal life. And another thing he is trying to explain, and it is something very important in respect of the side effects of the medicines. When medicines are in the energy form, it can only, when you are giving it to the healthy, it is going to express its specific energy in the form of altered signs and symptoms, altered sensations and functions. And in the sick, it is going to remove those altered functions and sensations. But in any case, whether in the proving or in the treatment, this particular substance of the medicine is not conveying except this energy. Any materialistic substance, any medicine which is having so many other things of it, for example, uh, one particular medicine made from flour has got some color, some taste, nothing is transmitting. This plant has got a shape, it is not transmitting its shape. I mean, those very particular physical and chemical properties of the substance are not conveying to this person who is proving the substance or the one who is taking it as a medicine. Only that particular energy is going from the substance to the person through the sensory fibers, that is sensory nerves. The medicinal property of those material substances, which we call medicines proper, relates only to their energy to call out alterations in the well-being of animal life. Only upon this conceptual principle of life depends their medicinal health altering conceptual dynamic influence. This I explained just now. Just as the nearness of a magnetic pole can communicate only magnetic energy to the steel but cannot communicate other properties, for example, the hardness, ductility, as I told you, the physical properties and the chemical properties are not going to be transmitted. The same example is related to the magnet and metal. Magnet and metal is magnet is influencing the metal as up to the level of its magnetic energy. But then this metal does not get anything of the magnet related to that substance, the physical property of it and the chemical property. Same applies related to the medicines also. And thus, every special medicinal substance alters through a kind of infection. Again, the medicines, when going into the proving a kind of infection, medicine given to a sick human being is a kind of infection. That well being of man in a peculiar manner, exclusively its own and not in a manner peculiar to another medicine. As certainly as the nearness of the child ill with smallpox will communicate to a healthy child only smallpox and not measles. Very simple. Like if you are proving pulsatilla, it will not show the symptoms of lycopene. If somebody is coming near to the child suffering with smallpox, the child coming near, healthy child coming near to him, is going to get smallpox only. Does not mean that because he is coming in contact with the uh, child infected with smallpox can have measles. It is not possible. So these medicines act upon our well-being wholly without communication of material parts of the medicinal substance, thus dynamically as if through infection. So this is the last sentence, which is giving you the whole summary of the thing, that whatever is going to happen is quite very specific. You know, when you read the arena of energies, in the arena of energies, it is quite specific. If you try to tune with the FM, in the FM, if you tune X number of the FM, the Y number cannot play. Very simple. Far more healing energy is expressed in a case in point by the smallest dose of best dynamized medicines, in which there can be, according to calculation, only so little of material substance that its minuteness cannot be thought and conceived by the best arithmetical mind, that by large dose of medicinal substance, very simply saying in this sentence, a comparison between the liberation of energy. If pulsatilla in its crude form, the mother tincture of pulsatilla and pulsatilla 200, what is the difference? It is the difference, the liberated energy is so much in 200, where already the substance is reduced so much, but then energy liberated a lot. If you compare the effect, dynamic effect of the mother tincture and the 200, you will find it is hell of a difference. One cannot conceive, one cannot really imagine it. It is such a difference. This is what he's saying. I just read it again. Far more energy is expressed. Far more energy in pulsatilla 200 compared to pulsatilla mother tincture. Far more energy is expressed in case in a case in point by smallest dose of its best dynamized medicines, in which there can be, according to calculation, only so little of material substance that its minuteness cannot be thought and conceived by the best arithmetical mind, than by large doses of the same medicines in the substance. That smallest dose can therefore contain almost entirely only the pure, freely developed conceptual medicinal energy, and brings about only dynamically such great effects as we can never be reached by the crude medicinal substance itself taken in a large dose. So, what Pulsatilla 200 can do, that work, that job cannot be done by any good number of drops of the Pulsatilla mother tincture. This is what the simple understanding of it. Here he says conceptual medicinal energy. When he says conceptual medicinal energy, concept means, when you say concept, it is concept means that something uh, which you can only grasp of, means you can just grasp this idea. But again, when he says conceptual, that means the energy of the medicine, the energy of Pulsatilla 200, you cannot senses by your senses, you cannot watch it by your senses. When he says conceptual means you can grasp the idea, but then you cannot watch it with your senses. How can you know this? You can only know after giving Pulsatilla 200. You find fever has gone. You find the diarrhea has gone. You find the mood of that person earlier was so weepy became cheerful. This is the effect we notice. This only we, that is why he says conceptual medicinal power, conceptual medicinal energy. The energy which is conceptual, you can grasp of it just by your idea, your suprasensual idea, but then you cannot watch it with your senses. But then you can definitely watch with your senses the effects of it. Okay, so let's go further. Now, the now the two paras are left in this footnote. The this paragraph, the second last paragraph, it is nothing but then the complete footnote summary. And thereafter, the last paragraph, he talks the understanding of the whole thing in questions. He has given certain questions that uh, is this so difficult to understand? The last para says the understanding of the dynamicity, understanding the dynamic power. Is this so difficult? And he is giving examples of it. He says it's not difficult. So many number of examples around us to understand this dynamic power. Why are not looking at those examples? So now the major portion, really every one of you understood. Now let us go with a summary of it and then with the last para. It is not in the corporeal atoms of these highly dynamized medicines, nor their physical or mathematical surfaces, with, with which the higher energies of the dynamized medicines are being interpreted, but mainly as still sufficiently material. I read it again. It is not in the corporeal atoms of these highly dynamized medicines, nor their physical or mathematical surfaces, that the medicinal energy is found. So it is very difficult. Like for example, you take Pulsatilla 200 pills your hand and start rolling around that pill and try to find out on which surface, on which side the energy of Pulsatilla 200 is lying. You cannot find out like this. Or you break the whole pill and take it below the electron microscope and try to watch with your extended eye of electron microscope that where is this energy lying in this very very small pieces of the pills of Pulsatilla 200. That way you cannot find it. More likely, there lies invisible in the moistened globule or in its solution, and unveiled liberated specific medicinal force contained in the medical substance which act dynamically by contact with living animal fiber upon the whole organism. Instead of going into these many experiments under the electron microscope or so many gadgets, you better give it to some living organism. You give it to some, say, healthy human being, it will immediately come in contact with the sensory fibers, that is, sensory nerves, and you can watch the effects of it. Or you give it to the sick human being, showing the very specific natural symptoms of the disease, uh, similar to pulsatilla 200, it will immediately remove all those symptoms. That way, it can be better watched, better seen, better understood, instead of looking around the surfaces of the pill or just going into deep into the pill. He says unveiled, liberated, specific medicinal force. What is this unveil? That is removing of the veil, removing of the covering. And liberated means, when you say liberated, has come from the word liberate. Liberate come from libra. Libra is a balance, taraju. When you weigh something, you use that gadget called balance, that taraju. In that taraju, if you see, it just keep on oscillating. That balance keep on oscillating. It is the exact example I'm giving, the wave-like effect. Such wave-like effect and this uncovered power, you can just see when it comes in contact with the sensory nerves. By contact with the living animal fiber upon the whole organism, in the bracket, without communicating to it anything material, however highly attenuated. But then this pulsatilla 200 is not really conveying the physical and chemical property of that plant, only that liberated energy, and acts more strongly the more free and more immaterial the energy has become through the dynamization. Means if you go further from 200 to 500 to 1M to 10M, it is more free to show its dynamized effects. So this is the whole understanding which we should get, we should understand with the dynamic influence, with the word dynamic power. That's something whose effects can be watched, but energy you just cannot see. Lastly, he says it is so easy to understand. He is putting certain questions so that we can answer ourselves. Is it then so utterly impossible for our age, celebrated for its wealth in clear thinkers, to think of dynamic energy as something non corporeal? Since we see, he says, is it then so utterly impossible for our age, in this our age, and when he's talking in his time, that we all are so celebrated, uh, wealthy people regarding the clear thinking? Is that so difficult for us to understand all this? If he's giving examples now, daily life examples, to understand the dynamic influence, to understand the dynamic power. If one looks upon something nauseous and becomes inclined to vomit, see, most common example, we, you and me, everyone come across something, looking at, we feel nauseous. Now, this sensation of nausea, how it has come? Anything entered in us? We just saw something nauseous and we felt nausea, maybe vomited. So anything which is nauseous substance just by seeing entered in us. See, such a common example of the dynamic power. I read it again for you. If one looks upon something nauseous and becomes inclined to vomit, did a material emetic come into his stomach which to compels him to this anti-peristaltic movement? What is generated? What material has generated in us which has reversed our this peristaltic movement? Another example, another question as an example. Was it not solely the dynamic effect of the nauseating aspect upon his imagination? Is this not just by imagination only? Then again he says, and if one raises his arm, I'm raising my arm, does it occur through a material visible instrument? So, whenever we all are raising our arm, do we use any kind of lever, any kind of gadget for that? No, it happens from inside by our wish and will. It's a voluntary movement. We are able to do it on our choice. Is it not solely the conceptual dynamic energy of his with which raises it? It is the conceptual dynamic energy. Now, raising the arm, he is saying it is nothing but the conceptual dynamic energy. Now, this conceptual dynamic energy of raising the arm is very well explained if the physiology, if we read the action potential. Any of the physiology book, you read action potential. How dynamically the movement occurs in the nerve from the cell to the axon to the next, and like this, how it goes. You will be surprised to read so much we know into this. And that is what Henneman says, it is nothing but a dynamic, conceptual dynamic movement. Because whatever is happening, the traveling of action potential cannot be watched with our eyes. But raising my arm, I can definitely watch it, the effects of it. So this is what the understanding regarding the dynamic power, regarding the dynamic influence. We in this era should be having much more and better examples of explaining this dynamic power. So far as my understanding goes, now we understand, we agree. Those days, people were not agree with the dynamic power. But now at this point of time in which we are living, the concept of dynamic power and the influence is very well understood and comes under the realm of science and very well utilized for many purposes in this science. But only difficulty is that it is still not translating in the medical art. That is where the difficulty is. The medical art, as I told you, still prevailing within the realm of Newtonian era. Though physics has gone far beyond from the Newtonian era and reached into the Heisenberg era, that is about the modern physics, that is something the quantum physics. It is altogether different. The quantum era of medicine, which is already there in the organon, is not being very well taken as a general acceptance of the rule in the medical field. That is where the whole difficulty lies. So, this is regarding the understanding of aphorism 11 and the footnotes of it. So, we will be trying to come up with much more examples of the dynamic power if we go back into our books of physics and other, and many such examples are being covered, collected, explained in the Fridge of Capra book Turning Point. So I wish if we go into the augmentation of the concept of uh, dynamic power, we will have to stop our voyage and understand this only. So some work I am doing, and some do it, you all do, and you can convey your homework of finding out this dynamic influence and dynamic power examples. You can convey it in the WhatsApp group, in the live chat every time when we are going live with the class, or you can put up the example, some link of it or something in the comment section, so that everyone, those who are coming across, will be able to read it, will be able to really understand it. Now, I wish that everyone should really comment here that are you still wanting it more explanation to this footnote, or you find that it is now clear to you. The only question is what I am just asking you: are you clear with the dynamic energy? Are you clear with the concept of uh, dynamic power? So that if you are clear with that, you will be able to understand the concept of infection. You will be able to understand the concept of dynamized medicine. If you understand this, you will be able to understand the concept of MISM. Otherwise, everything is going to be a question mark, question mark, question mark. So let us see what are the comments coming. Comment comes Twinkle Goyle, example of dynamic influence, make it easy to understand, sir. Then Hema, example help us clearly getting Dr. Henman's view. So thank you very much that with this effort, I am able to make you through this the most turbulent area, and we'll all have to be giving our, we are all have to take the exam when more such points are going to come, when all these understanding of the dynamic power, when it will come, when we will be in the practical part, the practical part of it will be coming. If we are clear here, those places when the practical application of this understanding will come, it will be very easy for us. So that will be the test days for us when we reach there. Then Devesh Kumar Singh says it is clear. Thank you so much. Shikha Garg, yes sir, it is clear now with such a lot of examples. Thank you very much. Thank you to you. It is clear now, sir. So this is a pleasant evening for me that you all are able to really get this understanding regarding the dynamic concept. Be it again and again, I'm saying, when a question of potency comes, the understanding of dynamic power will come. When a question of the concept of dynamization and potentization comes, that concept will be understood with this only. When a concept of repetition of the dose comes, again the same understanding will come. Mostly when somebody is describing a case and he's telling, I have given 200. Why and how this 200 is selected will be in the practical part. We will be learning that. But then we can only learn that 200 potency, 3 doses, why 1 dose, why 10 dose, why 14 dose, why to give LM potency, why not to give centesimal potency. All such questions are nothing but the understanding of dynamic concept. So keep this in the mind. When the question comes regarding the concept of miasms, again, this dynamic concept has to be very handy. It has to be very, very clear to our mind, and things will be very easy in the practical part. So let us see if we are going to understand those. We will be going further from tomorrow onwards regarding the aphorism 12 and everything. Uh, One or two comments more. Uh, Hema says, it is clear now, sir. Thank you so much. Wow, great. Dr. Sharp says, thanks for example to make understand the topic. So, really, I appreciate your comments and quite encouraging for me that my examples, my explanations, my expressions, they are making this topic clear to you. Quite a tough topic to understand. Think over, find questions, write me so that we may be doing much better understanding of the coming concepts. Thank you very much, everyone. Sign off. Thank you.